Hey YouTube, welcome back to Tinker with Tools. About 8 months ago I had a video where I discussed whether or not there were other premium tool brands other than just Milwaukee and DeWalt, mainly discussing if the Metabo HPT triple hammer was worth considering a premium tool. Well, tonight we're going to be discussing the latest and greatest from Metabo HPT. Here in the States it's known as the Metabo HPT triple hammer bolt, but I've got the actual Japanese version that's been out for quite a while. Compare it to the previous 18-volt triple hammer, and then also another Japanese impact driver, so we can see which one is the king of Japan. Let's get right into that on Tinker with Tools. We previously discussed this Metabo HPT triple hammer, and I've had this one for roughly 3 years now. I really do like it. It offers a pretty smooth function and is just kind of a nice impact driver to use. When I got the chance, I actually decided to go ahead and order this from Japan, this one being the WH36DC. And with this tool, they've actually made a couple of different improvements to it that I'd like to discuss. First, they moved the control panel from where it was on the side now up to kind of a more natural position right here on the base of the tool. It makes it a little bit easier to use, and with that they've actually made it a little bit easier to understand what mode you're supposed to have it in. Now, as far as the rest of the tool, there is not a whole lot that has changed here. It is a shorter impact driver, more compact, but they did go from a single LED up to a tri-beam LED on the front. They did change the collet ever so slightly, but it is still not a quick insert collet. That is one of the things I dislike about it. The rest of the impact driver is fairly unchanged. Now, this is a 36-volt version versus the 18 one we have here. They will both run on the multi-volt batteries, but unlike this one, which you can run on a standard 18-volt, the compact 3.0 battery that they have out there, this one will only run on the multi-volt batteries, and so you cannot put it on those 18-volt batteries and expect it to run. So this is the most compact battery that they have at the current time, which is the 2.5 amp hour 36-volt battery, 5 amp hour 18-volt battery. The power is just over 1,800 inch-pounds of torque here. We are just over 1,900 on this one, so a small increase in power. Let's go ahead. We're going to put some specs up on the screen, and we're going to compare these two to start with. And then later on, we are going to bring in my other Japanese impact driver, which is the Makita. And we're going to see which one is more deserving of your hard-earned money. And we'll kind of try and crown a champion or a king of Japan here. So let's go ahead and get to those specs and then right on to the testing. Alright, so first off, we are going to be driving some smaller screws and just seeing how much control you can have over these. So I believe this is a 2.5 inch screw. Now let's go ahead and move on up to the new Metabo HPT. So first impressions, definitely feels like it's going to be running a little bit slower on the new one. That can be good, gives you a little more control there. Let's go ahead and just run the Makita. Gives it a little bit of torque, and then it's almost like, oh no, I didn't need it. Backs it off and kind of keeps going again. We are going to move up into their power settings. So one thing I should point out about both of these, if you haven't watched some of the other coverage I've done on the Japanese Makita, these both have JIS collets on them. You can see that bit is actually locked in there. The Japanese bit has a detent further in than the American bits, and so you actually end up being able to use American bits, but with a lot of forward and back movement. This one doesn't seem to have as much forward and back play, but not nearly as little as what the American version of the tool has. If you go ahead and buy the Metabo HPT Bolt, you're going to have an American collet on there, and so it's not going to be an issue. It's just if you're importing it from overseas that you're gonna run into that problem. All right, now we're gonna move up to 3 1/8 inch GRK. Nice and smooth, plenty of power. Let's go with the 36 volt. Now the Makita. The 18 volt actually there felt almost like it drove it the fastest. Okay, now this is a 4-inch timber lock. When it comes to, I would describe each one of these impact drivers as being very smooth. There's stronger and faster impact drivers out there, but if you're using it day in and day out, driving hundreds of screws, having a nice smooth impact driver matters just as much. All right, now we're just going straight up to a 5-inch Spax. Now with the 36 volt. And lastly with the Makita. Now we're going to work our way up to the 6-inch Spax. And now the Makita. All right, now we're going with the 5-inch Spax power lag, first with the 18 volt. Now the 36 volt. All right, and now a 6-inch timber lock. I feel like that one really liked the timber lock. Yeah, the 18 volt felt faster there. I think it's going to be funny if I see either very little performance increase or if the 18 volt ends up winning these after I've imported these both from Japan. I'm not seeing the separation I felt like I would. All right, moving up now to an 8-inch timber lock. The Makita was shot out of the cannon there. Easily the quickest of the 3 on that 8-inch. Let's go ahead, we're gonna wrestle up one more fastener, slightly bigger test, see if we can see some division between these. All right, so now we have a 5-inch by 3/8 inch lag. There is no pre-drill on these. .36 volt from Japan. Does have a little bit of grease coming out of the collet. That is not abnormal. It's not the first impact driver it's happened with. It's not dripping or anything. It's obviously just gotten a little bit warm. So yeah, if you can just see, we've just got some lubricant on the end there. So let's go ahead and we'll start talking about some of the little quirks and oddities about each and which one I would tell you to buy if you had to buy one of the 3. All right, so when it comes to testing results, we'll go ahead and put those on the screen now. If I'm being honest, this one was too close to call. There were times when each one of these impact drivers felt like it was going to be the fastest. The specs are all very even on paper as we've shown you. So it's not like one is the clear leader. The 18 volt has by far the worst specs, especially in terms of RPMs. And yet it was hanging with some of these tools and even driving stuff faster in some regard. The 36 volt from Japan fared well and had some tests that I feel like it did really well on. The Makita performed as I would expect the Makita to at this point. Let's talk about some of the things I like and don't like about each one of them. We already mentioned some of the things I don't like about the 18 volt. The placement of the control panel on the side versus on the base, where they actually do have a control panel, but it controls just the light. I don't love that. It's just kind of odd. And if you run the belt clip on the same side that I do, it just sort of gets in the way. I don't really love that. The controls are actually a little bit confusing at first. Obviously, if you run this every day, you'll get used to it, but I think it could have been made more intuitive there. I've never loved the Metabo HPT forward and reverse selector here. Depending on the size of your hands, mine typically will rest up against it. And so it's just kind of really noticeable there, and you kind of have to move your finger out to get it to move back and forth. The control panel is corrected on the 36 volt. Overall, it's smaller. I think it's a little bit nicer ergonomics. The tri-beam LED is an improvement over the single that you do have here, so that is a nice creature comfort there. And you're going to get all of these improvements if you buy the American version, not just if you buy the Japanese version. And so if you're going to go with the Metabo HPT triple hammer at this point, I would say choose the 36 volt over the 18 volt if you are left with a choice, but they are including the 18 volt triple hammer in a lot of specials and promos right now. There was one going on for Black Friday where you could get this and kind of their mid-tier hammer drill for $149. That's actually a really nice deal, and it does get you a really nice impact driver. It's just an older impact driver at this point. If we're talking about getting that bolt, the thing that annoys me the most, and the reason why I went Japanese versus buying the American version, is for right now you cannot buy anything but the kit. And so you're paying $299 for that kit. Obviously they may run some sales on it or some promotions where you get some money back or a free battery, but you do have to buy the old kit. If you're already on Metabo HPT, if you already have some of those multi-volt batteries, it just feels like they're trying to gouge you a little bit to get you up into that kit. Otherwise, I really do like this, and I would recommend going with the newer one unless you just get a screaming deal on this one. That's what ended up, now when it comes to the Makita, I've got a full video on the Makita. We'll go ahead and link that up there. I do like the Makita. It's just not going to offer such great performance, in my opinion, over your standard impact drivers. Where it does shine in its refinement, and what I mean by that is how smooth it is to use, the trigger control, and just how little effort you have to do to have good control over this tool. It is a step above in terms of refinement over, in my opinion, any impact driver on the market, and just a Makita in general. Now, you do pay a price premium for that, and so that is a con with the Makita XGT. We have started to see a lot of different promotions for the holidays where you can get free batteries, but it is a price premium over just about any other brand not named Festool. And so that is something that I think you're going to be dealing with if you go with the Makita XGT. All of these impact drivers are good. None are going to be the strongest, fastest on the market, but they are going to offer good control, good feel, and decent enough power to be competitive. I really do like the Metabo HPT triple hammer. I think it is a great tool. It is one of many great tools that Metabo HPT has, and something that they offer that is going to be unique and different. Now, whether it's going to be the performance winner that you're looking for, that's not necessarily the case, but it is going to offer a pretty refined approach at a much more affordable price than what you're going to be getting with the Makita. So if it came down to it and I had to buy one and only one, I think this is the nicer impact driver. If you start to mix value into it, I think this one comes out on top. So thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down in the comments below. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't already, take time to subscribe so you can get notified when I put out new content. So thanks for watching. From Tinker with Tools to you, have a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and I'll catch you next time on Tinker with Tools.